I will call the meeting to order.
For you, home watching football, but don't feel bad.
Call the meeting to order. We're here tonight. We have one thing on the agenda, and that is to meet with MacDuffie. They are looking to put a forced main sewer all the way out to Belchertown. This will not involve GRANBY residents, or it is a forced main that would not accommodate our sewage even if we wanted it to. So we're really here tonight just to try and help them get on their way with their project. So if you'd like to come up and tell us about it, that'd be great.
Guess I'll be the guy.
We have Steve Griffin here from MacDuffie.
Well, good evening, everyone. First, I want to thank you for convening this meeting to listen to us and kind of help us along here. Basically, as you know, we have been searching for solutions to our wastewater issues basically from the day we arrived at 66 School Street. We opened basically right on capacity according to DEP guidelines and regulations, and as we grew, then we grew into a consent order where we agreed to fix this problem by 2017. And so, as you know, we came to the town of Granby looking to see what their interest was in building infrastructure out at that end of town, and we realized that it was going to take longer and cost more take longer than we had, and it was cost more than what we thought we had to afford. So we've investigated other options. We approached Belchertown once before, and when we approached them, it looked like they had enough capacity for us. We came back with you, and there was some talk about maybe even partnering back then. And this time we're coming just solely looking at putting a private line in, stretching from the MacDuffie School to the wastewater treatment plant in Belchertown. We're looking at a route that heads north along School Street. And we have visual aids. Let us show you those. Tom Jenkins is here from GZA, acting as a consultant on the project.
I guess I'll hold it over here since there's a camera there.
Okay.
The school is here. Your schools are here. School Street, Bachelor Street, George Hannum Road, and all the way to the treatment plant. So we had looked at a number of options. This is a figure that came from the study that we did back in 2013, and that was looking at options for combining forces here, so to speak. But at the current time, we're looking at a pumping station pretty much in the front yard of the school. Won't see much from the ground surface, a couple of boxes, but and then a small diameter force main running up preferably the shoulder of the road. It'll be like a water main or sewer main, whatever. It'll be about 5 feet deep. It'll be small diameter, probably in the 2.5 inch diameter range. We'll have grinder pumps here that'll chew everything up just like a garbage disposal, put it in the pipe and ship it away. And won't daylight again until it gets to the treatment plant. So it's about 18,000 linear feet. Maybe of that, maybe 7,500 feet, mile and a half will be in town of Granby.
So from our standpoint, it looks like it's going to have to cross a road, School Street, either right at the MacDuffie School or further along the line, and the determining factors on that are going to be it's going to cross 3 creeks along the way?
Yeah, what the steps would be for us to get a good survey of the route, and then we'll probably do some soil borings and look for ledge and that type of thing, look for soil conditions, and then we'll kind of plot out what route makes the most sense. A lot of factors that would go into that, mostly just the physical environment. How many driveways would we have to cross? What kind of wetland situations do we have? Where is the road positioned within the right-of-way? A lot of different things we would look at. choose the path that would be the least disruptive to everybody, both currently and in the future. It just, I'm sorry?
Do you have a copy of our wastewater management plan? Because it does have some geological information. Anything in it that would be helpful to them?
Is that the one that was done in 2013?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do have it. Yeah. I think I do. I know I have something from 2013. I didn't look at it tonight to know if it, big old thick thing? Yeah. I may not. How would I get a copy of that?
No?
There may be an electronic version of it, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
Take a look.
If not, I have one at home.
I'll check. Yeah, thank you.
So from our standpoint, we're actually in the preliminary stages of this. We're trying to price it and hold up the cost of this against the cost of building and maintaining a wastewater treatment facility on site. So we haven't committed to either plan, but we are really running out of time to make a final decision. And so we're looking at the timing issues, what could be the problems that lay out in front of us. And so that's the reason that I wrote the letter, which was what issues are there that we would need to make sure we handle in good order, good timing with the town of Granby in terms of permitting. And so I appreciate you taking the time to gather people from your committees to make sure we're considering everything we need to consider in order to take on a project of this scale.
I think it's probably involved not so much us as other boards. Dave, you could talk to about a lot of the construction stuff.
Yeah, one concern I would have is the crossing at Forge Pond. At the diameter is a large diameter culvert.
Mm-hmm.
I would prefer to see you go under it with directional drilling, if it's possible. I don't know where the ledge is there.
Yeah, I don't either. So that's one of the critical areas, obviously, and we would prefer that we do it that way also, if ledge allows, and if not, we'll have to come up with some other alternatives. But there's lots of options, but that would be our preference as well, as long as it was physically possible to do that.
Yeah?
Have you assessed the cost factors, the comparative cost factors of taking that the back way into Belchertown as opposed to the front way into Belchertown?
You mean this way?
Yeah, the 202 way?
Yeah, we have. We looked at that early on, and we determined that it would be a little bit shorter to go this way, probably because we'd be out of the state layout, probably less expensive in the long run. Didn't they just resurface 202 as well? So that's another factor. Not that we couldn't bore under it and come up the shoulder, but it's just a more improved environment, I guess you might say.
Rich?
Would that pipe be in the road or on the side of the road?
Ideally, we'd do it in the side of the road, out in the shoulder, just like a buried telephone line or communications conduit, or...
Did you say on the shoulder?
On the shoulder, yeah, yeah.
Rich lives on Bachelor Street?
Bachelor, right, you know, right by it.
Mm-hmm. It'd be within the right-of-way, but under the shoulder. We could put it anywhere, but that would be the least disruptive and the quickest, and the...
What would you do with there? I mean, a lot of mailboxes and, you know, stone walls on the edge of the road, but how do you handle that?
Well, if we had to cross a driveway, we would have a temporary disruption across the driveway. It wouldn't be any more than an hour or two, and then there'd be a temporary and then a final permanent patch. If there were mailboxes, they'd just be taken down and put back up. But that is a factor that may make some decision about where we put it. If there were 2 driveways on this side of the road and 27 on that side of the road, well, we'd probably go for all other things being equal, we'd probably go on the one. But it's really not a big deal. If it's my driveway, I'm thinking it's a big deal. But just in terms of the scope of the project, it's not a big deal.
And how deep did you say the pipe normally would go?
We'd put it 5.5 feet, get it below frost. If we had to go shallower for some reason for an obstruction, we could insulate it, but it's better just like we've had a year like last year, there were water mains freezing that were 4.5 feet deep.
So what I'm hearing right now, I'm hearing permitting, so something going through Dave, right, to permit to dig in the road and dig in the right of way, and then I'm hearing the environmental permitting.
Select board.
Yeah,
He'll tell us what to do.
Okay.
Papers.
Is there an actual road entry permit
We don't have one in
process?
place now, it's just going through the select board.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So would we approach you and then deal with you, and or do we know?
So start with Dave, and then it'll come up. Dave will give it to Chris. He'll bring it to a
Yeah,
meeting.
okay, all right. And then, of course, we know the Conservation Commission,
Yeah.
any wetlands
No.
and that type of thing. No.
Okay, we have Dick Bombardier for the Board of Health back there.
With a single pumping station like this and a small main, I imagine the pressures at the school end of this are going to be pretty high.
Mhm.
What do you do to make sure that the system is it? So the potential for leaks into the environment is there. How do you make sure when you put a system in that like this that you don't have breaks in the pipes and you're leaking into the environment?
Well, the pipe will be pressure tested before it's put into service. It'll be pressure tested at something probably approaching not the burst test, but above the working pressure of the system. So the pipe and the fittings all may be rated at probably 300, 350 psi, and our operating pressure would probably be about half of that at the pump itself, and then
Right.
less as you go down the road. So,
Right, and then periodically do you test it again?
No. Not
So
unless
you
there's,
could,
not
you
unless
could
there's
have
some.
a ground shift or something and without a plan to at least over the next 50 years to say that the pipe never cracks. Your plan will not be to have anything to ever test.
No, correct.
Okay.
Which is standard in the industry. If there are signs that indicate that there is a problem, well then there are certainly ways that it can be checked.
Pam?
Steve, have you had a discussion with any of your neighbors about sharing some of the cost of this? You have a large neighbor who has shown an interest over the last, as long as these sewer conversations have been going on about developing their property if a sewer went in. Have you talked to them at all about sharing some of the costs of this and getting it over to them as well?
we have not, no.
Is that intentionally, Steve, or you'd rather not have the hassle of even going
Well,
that route?
for one thing, we're not particularly interested in being in the sewer business.
Yes.
We're in the education business. This is
Yep.
this is definitely a secondary project to us, maybe tertiary. I don't know how far down level we want to go.
Yeah.
The second thing that I'd want to say, we have had conversations in the past about this, and I think they're not interested in
Yeah.
developing infrastructure around that land. I didn't approach about this particular project.
Oh, Dick, what kind of permitting would they be looking at?
I don't think from the Board of Health standpoint, I don't think that there's a permit. I think we would be pushing for somebody on the issue of operating and maintenance and how do you make sure this thing is going right. But when I thought about it, I'm guessing that you guys as the sewer commissioners are probably going to be the main people that are having to do with this thing. And I think from our standpoint, it would be like kind of what goes on around here, where we have little to do with it other than maybe, as I said, with the O&M stuff to make sure. I'm still concerned with having a 150 PSI sewer line that's going to be in the ground for a long time with no attempt to find out if land is shifted or if something is broken, because over the life of this thing, it's hard to believe that something won't break over 50 years or 100 years. So, but I think from the Board of Health standpoint, that's what we push on it as much as we could on the O&M kind of stuff. But in terms of running pipes and streets, I don't think so. In terms of they'll be dealing with the DEP for the park, because it's a big volume user, so I think we're not really involved.
Jim?
I don't think I've ever heard of a private entity running such a sewer line or a utility for such a distance. I mean, to me, there's easements involved with the town and with the homeowners as you bring that line all the way into Belchertown. I've never heard of have you, David?
I think the town would have to give them an easement, basically, to allow that utility to exist in our right of way.
So that easement would give them the opportunity to maintain it?
Correct.
Yeah, it's like the town would grant an easement for a cable company or, right, any utility. It would be the similar thing.
The shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
Well, we were proposing going through, when we were looking at the new level road, so we're going through South Hadley and going to Chicopee. It would be the same type of thing. We would have to have an easement in South Hadley to allow us to go through South Hadley.
You
As a town, but
not as a private entity.
But as a private entity, it would be the same.
The same thing.
Same thing.
And the roadway crossing, driveway crossings, that type of thing, that's not on private property. That would all be on within the right of way. I mean, if we found that for some reason we had to go on to private property, yeah, we'd need an easement, but that's not anticipated at this time.
How far along are you with Belchertown on this?
I believe that they have had their select board meeting where they have reconfirmed their original, I think this was back in 2013, they affirmed that they were willing to take on our load, and then they just basically reaffirmed that that was the case. So that was presented back to their select board. Now they're just waiting for us to indicate if we intend to enter into an agreement with them. And I think one of their indicators is making sure that, you know, we're on side, we're doing everything right with the town of Granby, so that everything gets up to the town border in good order. And then we'll work with them on their side as well.
Jim?
Are you doing this in parallel with getting a budget number for an on-site system, or have you already done that?
We have had estimates, they're probably a year and a half old now, about on-site costs. So yeah, we're going to be weighing our estimate for the cost of this project against the other one. That's happening in parallel, yes.
One other question, you're running this as a single 2-inch line the entire way?
Mm-hmm.
Have you thought about providing a second line just in case there was a blockage and to allow cleaning or, to divert to the other line?
Well, that would all be taken into consideration as it goes forward. As you know, the cost of the line is not as cheap. Yeah, exactly. You'd add another $5 a foot at the most, so could even be a larger diameter.
It might be a good insurance policy. I'm just not that familiar with that length of a run on such a small diameter pipe.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got any sags or whatever, you could get some settlement clog or something, and that would be my only concern for you. I mean, it would be a maintenance problem. Whereas if you had a secondary line, you could all just valve it over and then fix the clog, and it gives you a chance to fix it in a normal manner, not under an emergency situation.
Right. Good advice, and it's probably going to end up being something like 3% of the cost of the project or something.
Yes, pennies.
Yeah.
Chris, is there anything that you need to add?
No.
Okay, she's our building inspector.
We've met.
Russ?
The only thing I would figure into the cost is any traffic protection concerns that you need. Which I
Again, is that something we permit, or is that something that's just part of
no, you would have to, call ahead and schedule it, and depending on, I guess a lot of it's dependent on how big the project is and you need it every day, you need one person every day, you need two people, maybe you don't need someone every day, depending on how much of the road you're gonna be taking up when you're doing the work. So without knowing that, it would be hard to answer that question.
We'd write yeah, and at this point, we don't know how much of the road, as we said, we think our desire would be to run it down the shoulder so that the disruption to everybody is at a minimum. Our specification would include a maintenance and protection of traffic section, and that would detail the requirements to the contractor, and then it would be the contractor's responsibility to actually work out the details for you, to have the duty police there, and with the direction, traffic direction, and whatever's required. That would be the contractor's part of their responsibility.
Do you have any idea like how long this project would take if it were just broke around with it? Just curious.
Oh, this would probably, I haven't sat down and done that, but easily in one season. Probably the bulk of the work would be done in 6 to 8 weeks.
Just the Granby section or the whole?
No, the whole thing.
Steve, what does this do for your growth potential?
Well, we put in, when we've done our specs for our well project, for the water inside, looking to growth of up to 500 on the campus. And that's a mix of day and boarding. That includes employees. And that's really a long-term growth. So what this does is it matches the outflow to the inflow potential. So it allows us for that growth. We're looking at somewhere in the next 5 to 10 years, maybe hitting 350 on a student population. Right now we're at 295. So it should handle our growth.
But nothing for any type of commercial development or anything.
And we're not looking to be in the sewer business.
I haven't even affiliated with the campus. Like at some point there was talk of a hotel or restaurants.
There was no talk of a hotel and restaurants
So this is
since I've been here. There's not been talk of a hotel or restaurants.
Previous administration, I had the same question. I think.
That's the other
Okay.
developer that wants to develop.
Yeah. There's the. Yeah, I remember there being a promise of a Starbucks, but I'm not sure we're hitting that need.
Dick?
If you look at the impact of the treated sewage on the town of Granby, now, I'm guessing, I think Belchertown's effluent goes into a brook that feeds Forge Pond, I think. And the town has got problems with the condition of Forge Pond, but if you look at the overall impact, you may not have this answer, but I'd love to have you look at it. And if you looked at the impact of your sewage on, we'll say, Bachelor Brook going by your school, there are two very different impacts. One is that, let's say Belchertown, and I don't know if it's secondary or tertiary treatment, but there is an impact of your introducing sewage up there and having it come back at us in Bachelor Brook versus you're treating it on site. And ultimately, it's going to, because of the water table, it's going to end up in Bachelor Brook. And it would be interesting to know what the two approaches have as an impact of the water that's going towards Belcher's Lake.
Dick will pay for that study for you.
No, I think
I would say I know more about sewage than I ever thought I would, but even that study doesn't interest me. As an exercise,
it
maybe.
may interest the town of Granby.
Okay. Does that interest the town of Granby?
Not in any way that would affect the project. Let's look at it.
Okay. Maybe we can see if any of our students would be interested in doing it as a science project.
Okay.
I'll
I'm sorry to
get
say
back to you
that
on that one.
no one from the Conservation Commission could be here tonight. I guess we'd be dealing with them quite a bit, or at least in significant areas.
It's probably the most straightforward aspect of the whole project.
Okay.
Avoid and mitigate where you can't avoid.
Is there anything we can answer for you or help you with? I'm sure you know what you're doing, so.
No, at this point, certainly it was to make you aware and to hear, and I've heard pretty clearly the permitting kind of stops at road entry. From the town of Granby standpoint, there are concerns, but they're generally concerns we're going to be talking through rather than permitting through. And so we'll commit to being open and honest every step of the way. You will be one of the first to know when we make a final decision on which project we're pursuing, whether it's on site or off site.
If you get any problems, just feel free to call our office and we'll try and work things through.
What's your timetable? I know you're looking at 2017 as a...
Yeah, well, the piece with this is we would be, if we're doing this one, it would be possibly digging in the fall season of 2016, right? Spring 2017 at the latest. So the timetable is as tight as it can possibly be. We're going to have to make some calls on this soon. I would say within the month, end of February at the latest, in terms of our time.
So have you had considerable conversations with conservation? Because to me, that, as we said, that's the committee that you should be attached at the hip throughout this, probably. Have you had significant conversations?
No, we haven't had significant conversations. Like I say, we do an awful lot of wetlands permitting for projects just like this, and I don't want to make it sound like that we're going forward with this irrespective of their concerns. That's not the case at all. It's just that we don't even have mapping yet. You know, that's the first thing to do is map the wetlands and get the survey done, and then we can evaluate routes, and then we may say, hey guys, we're thinking about this, we're thinking about that. What do you think? You know, that type of thing. So it's very, very early right now. I guess my point is that the wetlands permitting would not be a showstopper. It would definitely be something that it wouldn't be a go no go this type of decision. But that would come a little later in the process.
Yeah, part of this is even seeing if the timeline's feasible, because if it's not because of permitting holdups for various and sundry reasons, then we would just continue to pursue the on-site path.
Well, I wish we had become partners in this endeavor. I really do.
Well,
I wish you.
We do too. We do
I
too.
wish you luck and.
Well, thank you very much. Again, on the evening of the national championship, I appreciate the football fans in the room giving up their time.
All right, well, we thank you for coming in.
Okay.
Anybody, well, I think everybody's gotten an opportunity to speak. So, well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Steve, good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Motion adjourned.
Hey, Dick, can you, after you, if you're going to talk to them or anything, can I talk to you about one situation? Great.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.